What's up everyone, welcome to the channel. This is Living in Alberta. Red Deer is already one of the most affordable markets within the country. We've discussed this before, but today we're going to take a look at some of the most affordable neighborhoods within the city itself. All right, now before we get started, I need to throw out a couple disclaimers here. Now, I can take you to the hood, I can take you to the worst neighborhoods within the city, and I can find you the cheapest real estate. Also, the older neighborhoods are generally going to be more affordable than the newer neighborhoods. So we're gonna need to maintain a level of desirability for these neighborhoods. And I want to give you guys some options, so a little bit of variety. So we're going to look at some older neighborhoods, some middle of the road, and I'm going to give you a couple options if you're looking to live in a newer neighborhood as well. All right, let's kick this off on the southwest corner of the city. Now, this neighborhood is the first neighborhood that I lived in when I came to Red Deer when I was going to college. Let's take a look at the neighborhood of West Park. Now, this neighborhood is super affordable. Most of the homes are in the area from the 1950s to the 1970s. So you're going to find a lot of those raised bungalows. The median detached price is $325,000, which is majorly or super affordable. Now, let's take a look at some of the pros and cons of living in this area. Now, as I've already kind of alluded to, you are very close to the college. This is actually the closest neighborhood to Red Deer College. So if we look on a map, you can see if you just go right across 32nd Street from West Park, you are going to find the college, which is awesome. So if you have kids in that area who are going to college, or you're looking to purchase, a home that's close to the college for your kids, or if you're an investor looking to buy an investment property, there is a very high rental potential within this area. Now, you also get some of the other cool things that come with being close to the college, like easy access, walking distance to the G.W. Harris Canada Games Centre, which is an amazing rec center which was built in preparation for the 2019 Canada Games. And some of the other cool things of being in this area is that you're super close to some of the best walking trails along the river. So parts of West Park actually are right up along the river itself, and you are within walking distance to Heritage Ranch, which is arguably one of the best parks within the city. Even now, when I was down there getting footage for this video, it just amazes me that we have access to this stuff right within the city. Red Deer really is a beautiful city that I don't think a lot of people realize that has such amazing stuff like this. Also, being in the very southwest end of the city and right along 32nd Street, you have super easy access to the highway to get out of the city. So if you're traveling somewhere, if you work out of the city, that's a big pro living in this area. Now, a little bit of a hidden gem in this area is a kind of an offshoot of the neighborhood called West Park Estates.
Is that the new Pilates place?
Now, I lived here for a lot of years and I did not even know that this area of the neighborhood existed. I didn't know about it till I actually did an ambulance call when I got hired on the fire department. So I think this was probably 10 years after living in Red Deer, but this area is beautiful. Houses don't come for sale very often there, and if they do, they get snapped up very quick, but it's very, very secluded, and it is right along the river. I'll show you guys some footage. I was standing along the bank here. This is right next to West Park Estates. You can see the houses in behind me as well. And if you just take these paths, you follow them down the trail through the trees, you wind up in Cronquist Business Park, which has a ton of amazing stuff. Coffee shops, organic markets, breweries, barber shops, whatever you can think of. It's just a really popular area, and it's got a lot of beautiful walking trails as well. All right, let's take a look at some of the potential or perceived negatives of living in this area. So if we look at the east side compared to the west side of the neighborhood, the east side can have a little bit busier of a feel to it. So 32nd Street is a major exit in coming into Red Deer off Highway 2. So what a lot of people will do is when they come off Highway 2 on 32nd Street and they're heading to downtown Red Deer, they zip through that east side of West Park. They take 57th Ave and 55th Ave heading downtown, which increase the traffic there. And then we add into that, there's a huge middle school there, a very good middle school, but it's very busy and there's a lot of kids that go there, so that can add to the busyness as well. Now, on that west or the east side of that neighborhood, you're gonna find a lot more row townhouses and some apartment buildings, a little bit higher of a rental population more on the east side than the west side. Not saying that that is a con, but I mean, sometimes renters aren't going to take as good care of their property or care about the neighborhood as much as someone who actually owns a home in there. So whether that's a pro or con to you, I'm not sure. I'll leave that up for you to decide. And then parts of the very eastern border are getting close to Taylor Drive, so you're going to get a little bit of that traffic noise, I guess. It's a very busy artery running north to south in Red Deer, but overall, very affordable neighborhood. Median detached price of $325,000, close to a lot of really cool things. West Park is a good area to live in. Now let's hop across Gates and let's look at another older neighborhood. Let's take a look at the neighborhood of Bauer. Now this one is slightly newer than West Park. Homes are built in the 70s to 80s. So what I love about that time frame of that era is that there was a lot of variety when it comes to floor plans. So you get your raised bungalows, but you get lots of like 3, 4, 5 level splits, just lots of really cool layouts in this area. The median detached price, $370,000. So again, super affordable. And as always, let's start with the pros and cons of living in this neighborhood. So let's start with the good stuff first. This may be the most walkable neighborhood within the city, because on the north end of this neighborhood, you have the most popular mall within the city, which is Bauer Mall. There's lots of great shopping within there. Lots of times too, people are going to use that in the winter to walk and get their walks in if it's too cold out. Now, if you look on the west side of Bauer Mall, you'll notice that it is right up bordering Gates Avenue. So there's tons of shopping and retail along Gates Avenue. And then if we hop right across Gates, you get into South Point Common, where you have things like Walmart, you have Home Depot, Best Buy, Sport Chek, all those kinds of things. So it is super close to groceries, all types of different shopping, restaurants and bars, tons of restaurants. So it is a very walkable neighborhood, which is a big pro of living in this area. Now, if we look on the eastern border of this neighborhood, you still have the really nice walking trails. So these trails, they wind down all through Piper Creek. They can take you all the way down to the river if you want to go that far. Very beautiful walking trails. People love this area for that reason. And you still are very close to Red Deer College. So you can still walk to the college from this neighborhood. And it's a very quick drive as well, 5-minute drive. So super popular neighborhood. Now let's take a look at some of the cons of living in this neighborhood. Now, as I said, you have Bauer Mall in the north end of this neighborhood, and it borders Gates Ave on the west side. So that means that it can be busy sometimes. It can have a busy feel. When you're in that neighborhood, there's always kind of a slight hum of traffic noise in there. I don't know if that's coming from Gates or if that's coming from 19th Street on the south end, which has the Centrium. It just always has a little bit of a traffic hum there. So again, if you're up on that north end of the neighborhood around the Bauer Mall area, obviously that area is gonna feel busy too, because it is the most popular mall within the city. But overall, super affordable. This neighborhood has a ton of things going for it. This is also a very popular neighborhood to live within the city.
This place is home!
All right, let's head over to a neighborhood that's kind of middle of the road in the very desirable southeast section of the city. Let's take a look at Lancaster. Now, I have to admit, I have a little bit of sentimental value with this neighborhood. Lancaster is where I owned my first home. I love this southeast section of the city. Lots of people do. It's arguably, depending on who you're talking to, the best area of the city to live in. Now, again, this is kind of a middle of the road neighborhood. Most of the homes were built in 1995 to 2009. And the median detached price in this neighborhood is $391,000. So some of the pros of living in this neighborhood. First off, it's just a great, beautiful neighborhood. It's super safe. It's in a very desirable location of the city, the southeast end of Red Deer. Now, one of the things that this neighborhood is really well known for is that it has a ton of schools within the area. So there's Maddie McCullough, which is kindergarten to grade 5. It's got St. Francis of Assisi, which is a Catholic middle school. And then if we look right around the Collicutt Center, there is 2 high schools there. So we have Hunting Hills and we have Notre Dame. So kind of no matter what age your kids are, you are covered in this area with all the different schools there. And then if we kind of talked about it, we look at the Collicutt Center, which is within the neighborhood as well. This is one of the OG rec centers within Red Deer. This is a phenomenal rec center with wave pools, slides, skating rinks, indoor running tracks, field houses, pretty much anything that you can think of. There's a daycare there for the kids if you want to get your workout in. So a really great area of the city to live in. Now you're not too far away from places like Bower Mall and South Point Common if you're living in Lancaster, but if you're looking for stuff right in the immediate area, there is the East Hill Shopping Center. So in this shopping center, there's things like Save on Food, which is, in my opinion, the best grocery store within the city. You know, you got things like Tim Hortons, McDonald's, there's a restaurant in there, there's a medical clinic. So there is some immediate stuff right there, which is nice for this corner of the city. Now, if I'm looking for cons about this neighborhood, it's super tough. There isn't a lot. If I'm gonna nitpick it a little bit, because there are so many schools within the area, there are parts of this neighborhood that can feel really busy, especially when the high school is getting out and then you have the Collicut Center right in between the two high schools. That can be a very busy section of this neighborhood. And potentially another con of this kind of time frame of this neighborhood, in the early 90s, they used a type of plumbing called Poly B.
Wait, what is that?
It's kind of a pain in the ass. Lots of insurance companies don't insure for it anymore. There's a big class action lawsuit against it. It's a type of plumbing that's not allowed to be used anymore, but it was used back in that time frame, so it is prone to leaks and failures. So if you do purchase a home, or if you are looking at homes within that time frame, where like a lot of the homes are that are in this neighborhood, you're going to want to consider that it potentially may have this type of plumbing, and it's something that you're going to want to get changed out if you do purchase that home. But I'm really nitpicking here. It's tough to find cons with this neighborhood, but Lancaster, very affordable, very great neighborhood, very popular southeast section of the city.
I think this place is great.
All right, let's move a little bit farther west now and get into the next neighborhood. This one is a little bit newer, with homes built from around 2000 to 2009. Let's take a look at the neighborhood of Inglewood. So map animation, just like always, so you guys can see where it's located. The median detached price here is $407,000, which is super affordable for a newer neighborhood. Now, again, let's get into some of the pros and cons of living in this area. Pro, still in the southeast section of Red Deer, which is super desirable, super safe. It is a great neighborhood. It does have a really good school, a popular school. It's a middle school called Don Campbell. And one of the great things about living in this area, if you are a dog lover, just south of the Inglewood neighborhood, kind of southwest, kitty corner, is the Oxbow's off-leash dog park. So completely fenced in. You don't have to worry about your dog getting out. I used to take my dogs there all the time. It's not quite as nice as 3 Mile Bend, but either way, it's still a beautiful dog park and super convenient. Now, just north of the dog park, they've added in some shopping and different things like that. But one of the cool things about this new development is that they've added a Starbucks. So it's kind of nice. You can go there, grab your Starbucks, head across the street, take your dog for a walk, and then you're within walking distance if you want to go home. I wish that stuff was there when I lived in the area, but unfortunately it wasn't. But some really cool new developments that have made this area a lot better to live in. Now, some of the knocks of living in a newer neighborhood is that you don't get a lot of the beautiful walking trails, and you're going to have a little bit smaller lots too, depending. I mean, you can find some bigger lots within the newer neighborhoods, but you are going to pay a premium for it. But if we go back to the walking trails, one of the things that people like to comment on about Red Deer is that even in the newer neighborhoods, there still is a lot of walking trails. So if we look along the northern border of this city, running along 22nd Street, there is a bunch of paved walking trails, and these are super busy. Lots of families out there all the time, lots of kids riding their bikes, people rollerblading, and you can see it takes you all the way to the eastern side of the city, which you can access some more pretty neat walking trails that run all along there. So even though it is a newer neighborhood, you still have some decent, walking trails. Let's head to the north end of the city. Now, we are going to look at another newer neighborhood. So kind of the same time frame as Inglewood. A lot of the homes were built from 2000 to 2010. We are going to take a look at the neighborhood of Johnstone. So median detached price in this neighborhood, $360,000, which is even quite a bit more affordable than Inglewood. Super affordable for a newer neighborhood. Every time I'm in Johnstone, it just has a really clean feel to it. It's a really nice neighborhood. There is a lot of young families there, lots of activity going on. Now, if we look at a map, you can see that Johnstone is kind of in the northwestern section of the city. So the big rec centers up there are going to be the Dawes Center, which is a huge rec center. They just put $44 million into it, so they've upgraded a ton of stuff there. It's also really close to the YMCA, and just south of Johnstone is called Taylor Plaza. So if you just straight down Taylor Drive, right on 67th Street, you're going to find a ton of shopping in there. So this is a really good neighborhood to live and a really, really affordable option. Now, some of the potential cons of living in this area is that it is close to an industrial area called Edgar Industrial, which is a very, very big busy industrial area. So if we look on a map, you can see it's just on the western border of Johnstone. There is also a train that kind of runs in between there. So depending on where your home is, you might get, some train noise, or potentially when that train goes by, if you're super close, it might shake the house a little bit. Funny story, I actually had a client call me up and he just purchased a home in Oriole Park West and he couldn't figure out why his home would shake at random times. He thought there was something wrong with it.
The floor is shaking!
And I think he forgot that there was railway tracks that weren't too far, just out the backside. So when the train crossed, or when the train came by, it would shake his house a little bit, which I can understand could be a little bit alarming for sure.
Another train!
Now, parts of Johnstone as well, they are bordering Taylor Drive. Taylor Drive is a very, very busy artery within the city, running north to south. It's just about, if not as busy as Gates Avenue. So depending on where your house is, that could be a potential negative as well. But overall, this is a really great option on the north end of the city. Again, super clean. It's got a really nice feel to it. Lots of young families, lots of activity up there. And for a neighborhood that's built from 2000 to 2010, it is super affordable at $360,000 for a median detached home there. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. I really hope you enjoyed the video. As always, if you need any help with the real estate needs, you can use this information popping up and get a hold of me any way you'd like. Phone, text, email, it doesn't matter. Would love to hear from you. All right, guys, I will see you next week. Cheers.